Hi everyone. So just checking if I'm live. Yes, so welcome everybody to the free live class, which is part of the CAT 100 percentile initiative, where today we're looking to solve previous year questions for CAT on across the spectrum of quants. We'll look at various topics within quants and we'll try to solve previous year questions using some smart, innovative approaches. The session will be starting now at 11 p.m. So I request all of you to kindly take out 1-2 minutes to share the session link in various CAT preparation groups and forums so that more and more people can be part of this free live class. Hi Pranit, hi Shagufta. So let's start with the first question. So in every question, the rules are simple. In every question, you guys will be getting 90 seconds to try and solve the question, and then I'll be showing you all a shortcut approach to answer the same question. So the first question is as follows. So there are three friends. There are a certain number of mints in the bowl in the counter. So everybody took a certain number of mints. Sita came first and took a certain number of mints, followed by Fatima, followed by Ishwari. After the three are done, there are only 17 mints left. The question is saying how many mints were there originally in the bowl. So everybody take a minute and type in your answers in the chat window. So type in your answers in the chat window. How do we do this? If we talk of shortcuts, focus on this. It says Sita took 1/3 of the mints, which means whatever was the original count, Sita took 1/3 of the original count, which means the original count must be a multiple of 3. So just check which of these options is a multiple of 3. So if you are not able to solve, at least focus on which of the options is a multiple of 3, given that Sita took 1/3. So which option is a multiple of 3? 38 is not a multiple of 3, 31 is not a multiple of 3, 41 is not a multiple of 3, which means I could have straight away marked the answer as option D, none of these. And this is what is so very important in CAT. I keep on talking about most of the questions in CAT previous years can be solved in 30 seconds. The key approach is focusing on the minimum effort to mark answers. For example, here there was a giveaway in the fact that Sita took 1/3, so the number of mints had to be a multiple of 3. So immediately eliminated all the options, marked the answer as D, and let's move on to the next question. So this one is from an entirely different topic. This one is from geometry. So here we have the points A, B, and C taken on the sides D, DF, and EF. There is 2 pieces of information given. EC is equal to AC, so you can see they are marked as same, and CF equal to DC. The value given is angle D is 40 degrees. You need to find out the value of angle ACB, which means you need to find out this particular value. So this is the value that you need to find out, that is angle ACB. So answers, how do we solve this? So if this is 40 degrees, which means this plus this must be 140. So what is the easiest technique? just take up any easy breakup of 140. That is, you make the remaining two angles 70 and 70. So if this is 70, so this side is equal to this side, so this angle will also be 70, which means the remaining angle here will be 40. Similarly, this side is equal to this side, so this is 70, this is also 70, which means the remaining angle here is 40. So what do you need to find out? Angle ACB. So that will be 180 minus 40 minus 40. So that is equal to 100 degrees, which means the answer is option C, that is 100. Note, all you need to do was take any breakup of 140. And the easiest breakup would be taking 70, 70. And then follow the instructions in the question. So this side equal to this side means this is 70, this is 70. So the remaining angle is 40. Similarly, in this triangle, 70, 70 means the remaining angle is 40. So your angle ACB is going to be 180 minus 40 minus 40, that is 100 degrees. So that is how you could have got to the answer. Let's move on to a different topic. So this question is on a mixture of numbers and algebra. So the challenge is there are too many terms and it has a continuation concept, which is it's going up to infinite terms. So y is equal to 1 by 2 plus 1 by again 3 plus 1 by and so on. However, what you can see is there's a repetition that is happening. You need to get the value of y. So how do you get the value of y? The simplest way would be, what is the denominator? The denominator is 2 plus a fraction, which means your denominator lies between 2 and 3. It is 2 plus some fraction, 2 plus 1 by something, there is 2 plus some fraction, which means your denominator lies between 2 and 3. So if your denominator lies between 2 and 3, the value of y will lie between 1/3 and half. That is, it will lie between 0.33 and 0.5. So the approximation value of y would be 0.4. So all you need to do is check which of these options is giving you 0.4. What is root 11? 3.3. What is root 15? 3.8. All I need to do is check which option is giving me 0.4. Which option is that? Option D. Why? Because 3.8 minus 3 divided by 2 is 0.8 by 2, which is 0.4. And that is the only option which lies in this range. So you can immediately mark the answer as option D. Again, all you need to do is put in the minimum effort required to mark correct answers. It is not about unnecessary solving, it's about minimal effort. So for example, the denominator lies between 2 and 3, which means y will lie between 1/3 and half. And that is how we got the approximate value of y and we marked the answer as option. Let's move on to the next question. So here we are talking about a sequence of 7 consecutive integers. The average of the first 5 integers is n. But the question is asking, if that to be the case, then what is the average of all the 7 integers? So again, Try and solve this, everybody. The average of the first 5 integers is, if that is n, what can be inferred about the average of all these 7 integers? So how do we do this? The simplest way would be take sample values and check. So what is that? Just take a simple series of 7 consecutive integers. And the simplest example of a series would be taking the numbers 1 to 7. So if I take the numbers 1 to 7, what is the average? The average is 4. What is the average of the first 5 numbers? The average of 1 to 5 is 3. And that is said to be n. So the average of the 7 all the 7 integers 1 to 7 is 4, which is nothing but n plus 1, where n is 3. Hence the answer is option B, that is n plus 1. Again, it is not about forming equations and all. It's about simply taking a basic sample set of numbers, which is an easy example, and marking the correct answers. Let's move on to the next one. So this is a question on numbers. And all of these are previous year CAT question. In a 4-digit number, the sum of the first 2 digits is equal to that of the last 2 digits. The sum of the first and last digits is equal to the third digit. Finally, the sum of the second and fourth digit is twice the sum of the other 2 digits. What is the third digit of the number? So how do we do this? So here the question is focusing on, good evening, Nomad. So how you need to get the third digit. So what is said about the third digit? The third digit is equal to the sum of the first and the last digits. So just look at the options and see which option is the sum of the 2 other digits. Which digit is the sum of the 2 other digits? Because remember, the third digit is the sum of first and last digits. So which is the sum of the 2 other digits? As you can see, 5 is equal to 1 plus 4, which means your third digit must be 5. And your first and last digit must be either 1 and 4. Also, the sum of the first 2 digits is equal to last 2 digits, which means 5 plus 4 is equal to 1 plus 8. So your number is 1854. At the same time, your first 2 digits is equal to the last 2 digits. Your first and last digit sum is equal to your third digit, which is what you need to mark as the answer. That is, and the sum of the second and fourth digit is twice the sum of the other 2 digits. So second plus fourth is 12. That is equal to twice the sum of the other 2 digits. So again, simply by using the options, we're looking at which digit is the sum of 2 other digits. You have found out that 5 is equal to 1 plus 4. You could have marked the answer as option A. So always in such questions, utilizing the options becomes a much more easier, judicious proposition. And of course, you can always check back using the other conditions. So as you can see, every question is becoming a much more shorter approach. Let's move on to the next one. So we looked at questions on numbers, arithmetic, geometry, and so on. Let's look at a question on functions and progressions. So here it says if a1 is equal to 1 and an plus 1 minus 3an plus 2 equal to 4n, then what is the value of a100? Again, all you need to do is simply observe patterns. So just check, they've given you the value of a1, simply check which of the options is satisfying that pattern and accordingly mark your answer. So how can I write a1 in terms of powers of 3? a1 is 3 to the power 1 minus 2. Which means I need to get the value of a 100. So what do? The first thing I need to do is 3 to the power of 100. So eliminate. The next thing I need to do is minus something. So eliminate. And how much is this? Minus 2 into 100. Hence the answer is option C, that is 3 to the power 100 minus 200. Again, all these questions, if you try and solve by the forming equations and forming expressions and so on, they'll all end up becoming a lot lengthier. The moment you simply look at sample values and observe and check, it'll become a much more simpler question that will be solvable in a quicker fashion. Next one. So total expenses of a boarding house was partly fixed and partly varying with the number of boarders. The average expense per boarder is rupees 700 when there are 25 boarders, rupees 600 when there are 50 boarders. What is the average expense per boarder when there are 100 boarders? So you need to identify the average expense per boarder when there are 100 boarders. What they've given you is a scenario where there are 25 boarders and when there are 50 boarders. This is the average expense per boarder, not the total. Now, solving it by the normal conventional approach will end up being lengthy. But in CAT, the biggest challenge is you're expected to solve questions quickly, and that is where you have to master the 30 seconds techniques. How do you convert such a kind of a question which involves a lot of equation based solving, fixed part, variable part, and so on, into a 30-second? All you need to do is simply observe the numbers. All the options are having factors of 25. Each of these options are multiples of 25. If you notice, each of the values in the question are multiples of 25. Whereas the 700, 25, 600, 50, 100, each of the values are multiples of 25. And I've always said, in case the question has a particular prime factor, the answers must also have the same prime factor. So if the question, all the values are multiples of 25, the answer should also be a multiple of 25. So simply look at the values and check which of the options is a multiple of 25. Hi Siddharth. So which of the options is a multiple of 25? There is only one option, that is 550. So what you could have done is straight away mark the answer as 550 and move on. And this is exactly what you're expected to do to be able to mark answers quickly in the exam. Always remember, any value which is the prime factor in the question will have to be a prime factor in the answer. Why? Because if you multiply two numbers which are multiples of 25, you'll always get an answer which is also multiple of 25. Similarly, if you add two numbers which is multiple of 25, you still get an answer which is a multiple of. So always remember, if you're looking at a particular prime factor in the question, that always has to be there in the answer, and that is irrespective of which chapter or topic it is. So that regarding the algebra course on Plus, yes, that just started from June 23rd. From June 23rd, that is a couple of days back, we started with this new course called Comprehensive Course on Algebra. It's a Plus course that is there. Do make sure that you're attending all the classes. If you haven't yet subscribed, use the code percentiler live and make sure that you're attending every class as part of this comprehensive course on algebra. Let's move on to the next question. In a circle, two parallel chords on the same side of a diameter have lengths 4 centimeter and 6 centimeter. Distance between these chords is 1 centimeter. Then the radius of the circle is how much? This is again a question on geometry which involves the concept of circles. Now, a lot of you are wondering that what if somebody does not know their theorems in geometry? Doesn't matter. Simply look at any basic figure. In any basic figure where there's a chord, what can we say about the radius? The radius is always going to be a hypotenuse, which means it is always going to be of the form root over of a square plus b square. Whatever be this length and this length, it will always be of the form a square plus b square, which means it will always be square root of something. All you need to do is check which of these values can be written in the form a square plus b square. Out of root 12, 14, 13 and 11, which of the options can be written as a sum of two squares? Which of the options, good evening Sneha, good. Which of these options can be written as the sum of two squares, a square plus b square types? Out of 12, 14, 13 and 11, we know 13 is equal to 3 square plus 2 square, which means you have to be, the only possible answer can be root 13. So as you can see, no theorems, nothing is required. Simply by looking at the options, you can immediately get the answer as option C, root 20. And this is where being alert for the question options is so very handy in once. Remember this, approximately 45% of the questions in each slot in CAT can be solved by such 30-second approaches which do not require you to do any solving. Simply look at the options, mark the answer. Siddharth, this course that you're talking about, this will cover only the algebra syllabus. The other modules will come as part of subsequent courses. As part of subsequent courses, you will look at geometry, modern maths, arithmetic, numbers and so on. It's part of the same subscription. The algebra course is the one which got started recently from June 23rd. So make sure that you're attending the classes as part of the Algebra Plus course. The rest of the quants will be covered as part of the subsequent the next one. Here it is saying find the sum of all these terms. Yes, entire algebra will be covered, Siddharth. Now, they've given you a big number to deal with. There's a sequence of up to 2008, which makes it very difficult, but it's very difficult to go up to such a big sequence. So in all such questions, all you do is look at small samples, check the pattern and mark answers. So simply check the value of this and check which pattern it is satisfying. So how much is this? Square root of 1 plus 1 by 1 square plus 1 by 2 square. How much would this be? 1 plus 1 plus 1/4. That is root over of 9 by 4, which is 3 by 2. How can I write 3 by 2 in this form? 3 by 2 is 2 minus half. So all you need to do is this term minus 1 by this term. But in the actual question, they're asking up to 2008. So what do? Simply 2008 minus 1 by 2008, which is option A. And by simply looking at the pattern, you could have marked the answer as option A, which is 2008 minus 1 by 2008. So always in such questions, simply look at the patterns, observe that, it'll give you major clues as far as marking the answers are concerned. Before we move to further questions, some updates on upcoming courses. The comprehensive course in algebra is starting from June 23rd. It's a new batch. It just got started. So make sure all of you are not missing out any further classes to capture the shortcuts. Regarding DILR, as you know, I am a CAT as well as a DILR 100 percentiler. So we are having the weekend batch that was started from last weekend. It's called the exclusive LRDI batch 1.0. It happens only on Saturdays and Sundays at 10 a.m. The sets for tomorrow's session are already uploaded on the class groups. So do make sure that all of you are attending those. Solve the sets by yourself and then make sure you're attending the class at. So class is at Saturday 10 a.m. The next class is part of the new weekend batch that was started, exclusive LRDI batch 1.0, brought to you by CAT and DILR. If you haven't yet subscribed, use the code percentiler live and subscribe immediately before tomorrow 10 a.m. Regarding weekday evening batch, there's a weekday evening batch where I'll be conducting classes starting from July. Again, once you subscribe, just share your screenshot and you'll be eligible for this. If you have any queries on Plus subscription, you can share your name and number. These are the advantages of the personal mentorship program. So anybody who's subscribing to the 6, 12 or 24-month CAT subscription using the code percentiler live and is sharing a screenshot will be eligible for the personal mentorship benefit. Whether you go for Plus or Iconic, it's either one of them. You'll be getting the benefit. You go for a 6, 12, 24-month subscription as a first-time Plus subscriber, but you have to remember to share your screenshot immediately once you subscribe. And the screenshot must contain the fact that you used the code percentiler live while subscribing. What are the advantages? You'll be getting study materials, live sessions, score improvement sessions, mocks, and GDPI will also be available for those who go for a 12 or 24-month subscription. So basically, we'll cover you for CAT as well as GDPI, including score improvement sessions based on how you're performing in your mocks. These are some of the other benefits of the Iconic subscription, the upcoming other batches, the bumper offer for CAT and the combat event and the Ask It Out feature. Before we end, let's look at one final question in today's session. So that is as follows. If r is equal to 30 to the power 65 minus 29 to the power 65, by 30 to the power 64 plus 29 to the power 64, then which of these can be concluded about the approximate value of R? Now, how do we do this? Again, the numbers are very big. Wherever numbers are very big, you simply look at the pattern. And so what is the pattern? The left hand side number is one more than the right hand side number. So let's just take any number. Let's say 4. 4 on the left hand side and 3 on the right hand side. What about the power? The power on the numerator is one more than the power on the denominator. So let's take the power of 3 in the numerator, power of 2 in the denominator. So what is the answer? 64 minus 27 by 16 plus 9. So that is equal to 37 by 25, which is greater than 1. So you could have immediately marked the answer as R greater than. In fact, you could have tried with some other number also if you wanted. For example, if you wanted to try with, let's say, 3 to the power 4 minus 2 to the power of 4. The left hand side is greater than the right hand side. So we keep this as 3 and this is 2. The power in the numerator is 1 more than power in the denominator. So we keep this as 3 cube plus 2. What is the answer? 81 minus 16 by 27 plus 8. That is 65 by 35, which is again greater than 1. So you could have simply marked the answer as R greater than 1.0. It's these 30-second approaches that basically help you solve questions fast. And remember this, you'll be getting approximately 45% questions in every CAT slot, which can be solved using these 30-second approaches that you saw in today's session. With that, we come to the end of today's session. We'll be connecting for the 2 upcoming courses. One is on algebra, which started on June 23rd. Make sure that all of you are attending the classes for algebra, as well as the new batch for the full syllabus on DILR as part of the 12 or 24 month program, which is the exclusive LRDI batch 1.0. The next class is tomorrow, Saturday, 10 a.m. followed by Sunday at 10 a.m. If you haven't yet subscribed, use the code percentiler and subscribe immediately to be eligible not only for classes but also the personal mentorship program. On that note, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you everybody and happy learning.